इधर वाला साफ आपका वाला ना अब आ रही है, अब आ रही है आवाज? ठीक है, हाँ ठीक है।
A very good morning to all the dignitaries present here. I, Prerna Sharma,
And I, Ankita Gupta,
feel delighted and honored to welcome you all for the second International Symposium on Securing Next Generation Systems Using Future Artificial Intelligence Technologies, SNSFAIT 2023, organized by Department of Computer Science and Engineering, Maharaja Agrasen Institute of Technology, Delhi, in collaboration with IEEE Communication Society, Delhi Chapter, sponsored by CEUR Workshop Proceedings. We are fortunate to have the presence of Dr. Nand Kishore Gar Sir, Founder and Chief Advisor, MAITS, Shri Vineet Kumar Loya Ji, Chairman, MAITS, Shri S.P. Agarwal Ji, Executive Chairman, MAITS. Our chief guest for today's event, Professor Vivek Ashok Bohra, IIIT Delhi, and Chair IEEE ComSoc Delhi Chapter. Professor Neelam Sharma Ma'am, Director, MAIT, Professor S.S. Deswal Sir, Dean Academics MAIT, all the HODs, faculties, and paper presenters. Before we start with today's event, let us seek blessings from Goddess Saraswati. I invite all the dignitaries on the dais to kindly come forward for lighting of the lamp. Now I invite Professor Namita Gupta ma'am to please welcome our chief guest, Professor Vivek Ashok Vora, with a sapling. Now I invite Dr. Deepak Gupta sir to present a sapling to Professor Neelam Sharma ma'am, Director MAIT. Now I invite Dr. Sudha Naran ma'am to present a sapling to Professor Namita Gupta, HOD CSC MAIT.
Proceeding further with the event, I invite all the dignitaries on the dais to please launch the souvenir of SNSFAIT 2023. Thank you all. Recent advancements in computing and communication technologies have allowed the development of connected systems that depend primarily on IoT and edge technologies. However, for the efficient adoption of connected healthcare, the security and privacy of next-generation smart healthcare systems are important challenges. Future technologies such as blockchain and machine learning are pioneering system security solutions to aid in effective rollout. In this context, this special event will concentrate on crucial aspects of IoT security in a connected healthcare environment, which will not only benefit from cutting-edge methodological approaches, but also assist in the rapid scalability and improvement of these systems. The objective is to utilize technologies like blockchain in the intelligent city IoT environment for communication, data security, and trust management. The second International Symposium on Securing Next Generation Systems using Future Artificial Intelligence Technologies is organized with the objective of bringing together innovative scientists, research scholars, professors, students, and industrial experts in the field of next generation systems to a common platform. The symposium is being held in the hybrid mode, that is both online and offline.
To begin with the International Symposium, I would like to invite Professor Dr. Namita Gupta ma'am, General Chair, SNSFAIT 2023, and Head of Department Computer Science and Engineering, MAIT. She is a dynamic personality with a bundle of knowledge and vision towards development. She has contributed, reviewed books and book chapters published by Oxford, Pearson, Prentice Hall. She was part of online jury for Pearson Teaching Awards 2014. She is the president of MAIT Institute Innovation Council. She has been the member of advisory boards and various technical committees of many reputed conferences. She has been the editor of Proceeding International Conference on Smart, Sustainable, Intelligent Computing and Applications under ICI TETM 2020. Procedure, Computer Science Elsewhere. She has to her credit 2 patents. She has managed and motivated all departmental staff to enable the students to receive skilled education in the subject in a positive encouraging and effective working environment. We invite you, ma'am, to kindly grace the occasion with your valuable words.
Thank you, Tena. Respected Dr. Nandkishore Garg, sir, Founder and Chief Advisor, MAITs, Chancellor MAU, Shri Vineet Gupta, sir, Chairman MAIT, Shri S.P. Agarwal, sir, Executive Chairman MAIT, Shri T. Garg, sir, General Secretary MAITs, Shri Gyanendra Srivastav, sir, Shri Mohan Garg, sir, Shri Ranish, sir, Anand, sir, Professor Amil Goyal, sir, Vice Chairman Academics, Professor Neelam Sharma, ma'am, Director MAIT, Professor S.S. Deswal, sir, Dean Academics MAIT. And of course, our keynote speaker, Professor Vivek Bora, who is the head of the Department of Electronics and Communication and also from IEEE Delhi. And he's the chair of IEEE ComSoc Delhi chapter and the keynote speaker of the day also. All the respected HODs, faculty members, research scholars, dear students, and all who are joining us today online. On behalf of the organizing committee of the International Symposium on Securing Next Generation Systems Using Future Artificial Intelligence Technologies, I, Professor Namita Gupta, General Chair of SNSFAIT2023, welcome to all to the Maharaja Agrasen Institute of Technology. The symposium is organized by the Department of Computer Science and Engineering, MAIT, in association with IEEE Communication Society, Delhi chapter. The objective of the symposium is to explore as to how the emerging technologies like AI, blockchain, IoT, they are all revolutionizing the way industries like manufacturing, education, healthcare, and financial services are operating. So as we continue to look forward a future of integrated next generation technologies, we should make sure that the new additions are adopted to elevate the human workforce and industry operations to produce better outcomes overall. So it is truly exciting to see where the next few years will take us as we continue to see an increase in the creation and adoption of such technologies which are on the way that we see every aspect of the life in healthcare and beyond. And we are also excited to share that around 91 papers from the renowned universities from international and the national level, they are submitted. And after peer review, we have 6 papers which are shortlisted for the presentation today. All the papers accepted will be published by the Scopus Indexed CEUR workshop proceedings from the Australia. And I accepted, and one paper is accepted as a book chapter to be published by the Elsewhere in the book title, Securing Next Generation Healthcare Systems Using Future Artificial Intelligence Technologies. Our thanks and acknowledgement, they are due to the management of Maharaja Agrasen Institute of Technology for giving us the opportunity to organize the symposium, and special thanks to Chairman Sir, Dr. Nandkishore Garg sir and Vineet sir, Neelam ma'am, who has always motivated us, Professor S.S. Deswal sir, CSC and the CST department, faculty, staffs and students for their full support. The hard work and dedication of all the members of various organizing committees during the preparation of the symposium is highly appreciated. Without them, the event won't have been possible. Special thanks to the symposium chair, Dr. Deepak Gupta, for his efforts. Where is he? Thank you, Deepak. The program chair, Dr. Ashish Khanna, organizing chairs, Ashish Sharma and Yogesh Sharma, for organizing the day event. All the faculties of the CST and CSC, they have worked hard. I can see their work throughout the day, rushing here and there, so that we can have this event successfully organized today. And of course, the students who are sitting at the back, they are also working with the faculties. Hope the symposium leaves positive memories for you to cherish. And my personal respect goes to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for your encouraging words. Dr. Ashish Khanna, Program Chair, SNSFAIT2023. Dr. Ashish Khanna, IEEE member 2019, Senior member 2020, MACM, Associate Professor at MAIT, is in teaching, entrepreneurship, and research with specialization in CSC. He's a part of 2% researchers list from Stanford University and AD Research and Research.com. He has done postdoc from INATEL, Brazil, and University of Valladolid, Spain, PhD degree from NIT Kurukshetra, and MTech BTech degrees from TGS IPU University. He has published around 210 research papers, including 102 papers in top SCI journals. He also has published 10 patents and 1 granted German patent. Additionally, he has co-authored 51 books. He is PI of Indo-European project worth 1.47 CR INR. His Google citations are 7,000 with H index of 44. His research interests include MANETs, FANETs, IoT, machine learning, etc. He got 2021 IEEE System Council Best Paper Award, and he is IEEE Delhi Section Execom member. Along with that, he is IEEE ComSoc Treasurer and Secretary, IEEE Computer Society member and convener in Springer conferences like ICICC, ICDAL, DOSAI, ICCN, ICIIP. He has delivered around 25 keynotes at international and national events. He is also the guest editor of several SCI and Scopus General. We invite you, sir, to share a few words with us.
Thank you, Ankita ma'am. I welcome, first of all, I would like to thank the HOD ma'am, Director ma'am, and all the dignitaries on and off the dais. So on behalf of IEEE Communication Society Delhi chapter, I would like to welcome Professor Vivek Bora for coming as a keynote speaker. He is HOD of Electronics Department at IIIT Delhi. So as a IEEE ComSoc Society, I welcome you all. So we are the one of the co-organizers of this particular conference. So as we can see that the introduction to IEEE Communication Society is there, that ComSoc is almost considered to be 24,000 strong members we have in the IEEE Communication Society. And Delhi ComSoc Society chapter was established in 1997. And the Delhi chapter includes almost entire North India. So as we see that the title of the conference is Secure Artificial Intelligence. So how the communication society is related to the conference theme. Let us explore that thing, that how IEEE Communication Society is the apt society to basically support this cause. So as we can see that in the future, even not in the future, in the present also, all the artificial intelligence technologies which are there need security. And where these systems can be breached upon, that is the communication. So communication society is one of the most important society which can play a very good role. And we need, as a computer society, professors, lecturers, and researchers, we need to work for the security of the upcoming artificial intelligence technologies. So with this, and as a IEEE Communication Society member and the secretary and treasurer, I want to say that all the students which are there, as the faculties are there and counselors are there, they can promote the students to be part of this IEEE Communication Society. If you are a IEEE member, then just by paying $1, you can be part of IEEE Communication Society. With this, thank you very much. I welcome you all to the conference. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your informative words. Professor Neelam Sharma, Director MAIT, Patron SNSFAIT2023. She has completed her PhD in Electronics Engineering from UP Technical University, Lucknow. She did her BE Honours in EC from Thapar Institute of Engineering and Technology in 1985. She has guided 5 PhDs and many dissertations and projects. Her areas of research include VLSI design and technology, nanotechnology, CAD, VHDL, computer architecture. She has published 75 papers and 5 books and has completed many projects in collaboration with World Bank, AICTE, MHRD, and GTSIP. It's a pleasure to invite the ever so efficient Professor Neelam Sharma, ma'am, Director MAIT, to address us on this pious occasion.
First of all, a very warm welcome to Shri Vora ji, who's sitting over here from the Electronics and Communication Engineering Department, IIIT. All the heads of the department, Dr. Namita Gupta, who is the main source behind organizing this international symposium, and all the faculty members, Professor Rajveer Mittal ji, Professor M.L. Sharma ji, Professor V.N. Mathur. I can see Professor Mr. Vinay, Dr. Vinay Saini also. Professor Amita is also sitting over here. Professor Pooja is also sitting over here. So we have so many heads of the departments, and also Deepak and Ashish have been solely involved in organizing this event. Alok is also there as a support, and he's always helping in organizing international symposiums. So this international symposium is on securing next-gen systems using future artificial intelligence technologies, organized by Department of CSC in collaboration with IEEE Communication Society India chapter. So a total of 91 papers have been submitted, and out of these 91 papers, I was just going through the souvenir which has been just launched. 5 papers were accepted as regular papers and 1 as a book chapter. And as I was just going through the titles of these papers, they are all on IoT, latest technologies, on 5G technology, and on blockchain, as Namita ma'am was mentioning, and so on and so forth. So now artificial intelligence, as we all know, it is coming in a big way, right? So, but then artificial intelligence should not take us over. That is the most important thing. So that means that we have to know everything minutely in detail so that it does not take us over. I mean, we are the ones who are the facilitators. I mean, we should get the advantage and not the machine should get the advantage over us. So like we have ChatGPT coming and so many things that are coming in, and gradually, many things we are going to leave it to machines. But unless and until we are efficient, there might be some wrong decisions taken by the machines, which might disturb us and our daily working. So it is very important that we should learn these things a lot. So one thing I would just request Professor Vora, he is here. And as I know that IIIT Delhi, lot of research work is going on at all the times. He is the head of department, Electronics and Communication Engineering Department. So he should guide our faculty members and teachers, students who are sitting over here, the teachers and the students who are sitting over here, because basically we are not a master's institute. Like we just have a BTech program. So how these BTech students, how they can be motivated towards more research work, more seriousness in the work that they are doing, seriousness towards whatever they are studying, and seriousness towards their project work, their seminars, their training, their
address. And foremost, I would first like to thank Professor Neelam Sharma, Director MAIT, and Professor Namita Gupta, HOD Computer Science Department, and Dr. Nand Kishore Garg, Chief Advisor MAITS, for organizing such a beautiful conference, and obviously Dr. Ashish and Dr. Deepak for inviting me as a keynote speaker for this conference. So although the theme of the conference, what I understand, is mainly towards the artificial intelligence. Yeah, this one. So although the theme of the conference, what I understand, is from next generation systems using future AI technologies, my talk will be on a very important topic, that is a vehicular communication. That aspects of vehicular communication involves not only about AI, but also about what we can say, how 5G and other cellular standards will impact the next generation of communication, vehicular communication technologies. So I'm Vivek. I'm the professor in head, as introduced already, in Department of Electronics and Communication Engineering. I'm also a TIH IoT Chanakya faculty fellow from TIH Foundation at IIT Bombay. And obviously, as Ashish mentioned, I'm also a chair, currently holding a position of chair for IEEE Communication Society. My broad areas of research is basically on the wireless side of it, wireless communication. Recently, I've also started investigating vehicular communication, UAV, unmanned aerial vehicles, and apart from that, intelligent reflective surfaces as well. So let's start with today's keynote. Okay. So the basic agenda of the today's keynote is, first I will introduce as Professor Neelam Sharma mentioned something about 5G. First, I will give a brief introduction. What is 5G? What is, you might have heard of this term 5G, VoLTE, 5G, and packet-based transmission, circuit-based transmission. What sort of transmission that entails a 5G communication networks? First, I will give a brief overview about 5G communication standards, then build on why do we need vehicular communication, and then extend some of the results that has been obtained in our group, specifically with respect to vehicular communication. So this is my Viracom research group in IIIT Delhi, and we have collaboration with a lot of companies as well as other academic institutions, and we basically work, as I already mentioned, on these few areas. And if you want to work with us in any of the topic listed below, you can obviously refer to the website Viracom. Just type Viracom at IIIT Delhi, we'll get all the details on what sort of projects we basically work on. And this is our Center of Excellence on Wi-Fi that has been established by India European Union ICT Standardization Cooperation Project. And we have different academic as well as industry partners for the Center of Excellence. And basically in this center, basically we explore what is known as a light fidelity. It's analogous to wireless Wi-Fi that you currently known as. It's something what we use light for communication application. And we have received funding from different government organizations, whether it's Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology or Department of Science and Technology or various companies as well, to explore this research area. And this is the basically website of ICT, Center of Excellence on Wi-Fi. I've already given details on what sort of work we basically do as a part of this Center of Excellence. The coming to the talk, basically, first I will give a brief introduction. What is 5G and beyond 5G networks? So 5G, I think nowadays, if you see recently, in fact, yesterday itself, there was a news article where you've seen that India has already installed around 2 lakh base stations with 5G capability. And if your mobile phone is basically 5G enabled, typically nowadays you receive 5G in your top corner. Previously you used to see 4G, VoLTE, but nowadays you see 5G. So this is what is 5G all about. 5G is nothing but a 5th generation of cellular standard. So each generation brings about something new in the mobile phone. 5G also brought about something new that was different from what we conventionally known as 4G long-term evolution. So 5G typically has 3 verticals. One is enhanced mobile broadband. Second is URLLC, that is ultra reliable, low latency communication. And the third one is massive machine type communication. So the primary difference, what we say about 4G and 5G is basically on terms of connectivity. 4G was typically built for human connectivity, for higher data rate. Your WhatsApp messages, you typically see, you can download a movie using 4G, you can watch a real-time match using 4G. 5G builds on that, what has already been there in 4G, and ensures that it's now capable of human-to-human connections, machine-to-machine connections, or as well as vehicle-to-vehicle connections. So it builds upon what was there in 4G to ensure that connectivity is not only limited to humans, but goes a step ahead. So the connectivity is not for the machines as well. That typically brings about a revolution, what we call it as Industry 4.0. The machines are also going to be connected apart from humans. So that is the main pillar of 5G. The first vertical, what you see is enhanced mobile broadband. That is still there. That was there in 4G. But now we have massive machine type communication where machines are going to communicate with each other. And ultra reliable low latency communication where we see about robotic surgery, tactile internet. That also will come into picture with 5G. And beyond 5G, people have already started looking for beyond 5G, that is 6G communication networks. Recently, our Honorable Prime Minister launched the 6G vision document. You might have heard in the news where we are going to go a step ahead, what was there already in 5G. And with the help of artificial intelligence, machine learning, and DL and all other things, we can further improve the performance of existing 5G networks. So 5G use case, as I already mentioned, so India is already moving ahead. We already deployed a lot of base stations with respect to 5G, and now we already have a 6G vision document as well. And 6G obviously will have far more features what we already see in the 5G cellular networks. So why 5G? I already built a lot of motivation. As I already mentioned, 5G is basically a URLLC, reliable communication, massive machine type communication, massive enhanced mobile broadband, and basically these are the physical use cases that you can see for massive machine type communication or enhanced mobile broadband or URLs, whether it's vehicular communication, whether you want to make a real-time video call, you want to watch a real-time match, or whether you want to have a communication between your smartphone as well as your mobile phone. So all these different use cases are inbuilt into 5G. Okay. So spectrum allocation, I will not go into details of it. The spectrum, recently the 5G spectrum were auctioned, and you might have heard a lot of lakhs of crores of rupees were generated from spectrum auction of 5G spectrum bands. And 6G timeline, so 6G again, as already mentioned, the next set of cellular standards is going to be 6G. Maybe by 2030, your mobile phone, instead of showing 5G, may show a 6G tab on the top of it. 6G again is going to entail far more features that were there. That is there in 5G, but apart from that, it will maybe include more of a artificial intelligence, machine learning sort of a concept. And scope of V2X in 6G. Now let's build into why do we need V2X communication. So 6G again, if you see, there are a lot of use cases where we can apply vehicular to X. When I say V2X, V2X means your vehicular is trying to communicate with other vehicles, or your vehicle is trying to communicate with roadside infrastructure, or your vehicle is trying to communicate with a cloud, or your vehicle is trying to communicate with other pedestrians or other sensors. So in this case, V2X, X can define whether it's pedestrian, other vehicle, infrastructure, cloud, or network as well. And there are a lot of use cases that goes around with V2X. It's not only about connecting between the two vehicles, but it's also about a lot of other applications that we begin to see with V2X. And with a lot of government impetus on hybrid vehicles, electric vehicles, and autonomous vehicles, even Tesla, Google have already started working towards that part of it. So V2X is something that a lot of people are working towards it. So V2X communication is, if we talk just about safety, it's about anti-collision systems, information sharing systems, giving you information on congestion, as well as optimal routes. So the motivation is the first motivation what we're going to see is basically the road safety. And since you're in Delhi, during the fog times, we always hear that in Yamuna Expressway or Meerut Expressway, a lot of accidents that are happening because of the not proper communication happening between the vehicles. So that sort of thing can be avoided by appropriately messaging between the different vehicles. These are some news articles what I've taken. As you can see, vehicle accidents is typically one of the foremost killer of people, and this typically can be avoided by appropriate signaling between the vehicles. So this is the most dangerous time to be on Delhi roads. As you can see, a lot of accidents typically happen in Delhi during the fog times, or even during normal peak hour times because of the improper driving skills and as well as not proper messaging happening between the vehicles. So these are taken from Ministry of Road Transport. As you can see, although data may not be visible in the back, but it's something on the number of persons killed per year from 2015 to 2019 in India due to the road accidents. And if I talk about international perspective, India ranks #1 in terms of road fatality death all over the world. Although you can see the United States and Japan has more road fatalities, but India in terms of number of persons killed is ranked #1. So that is something that is we have an infamous distinction of being ranked #1 in number of people killed in road accidents. And this is something, it's not only about loss of human lives, it's loss of GDP, There's a lot of economic consequences are also associated with something like this. So this is something that we can obviously avoid. So road safety is an important issue. Over 50 lakh vehicles fly on Delhi roads on working days. I think I'm coming from Ogla. I know that you always see some sort of traffic jam in one or the other roads. And obviously, about 1.35 million people die each year as a result of road traffic crashes. Road traffic injuries are a leading cause of death among people between 5 and 29 years. You always hear something like a YouTuber recently died while he was flying on Yamuna Expressway. So these type of accidents can typically be avoided if we have proper messaging between the vehicles or between vehicles and the infrastructure. So causes of road accidents, as you can see, fault of driver motor vehicle is the leading cause of road accident because it's only all the inputs that go to a driver is manual inputs. It's based on proper discretion of the driver. The vehicle themselves doesn't have any say whether they can avoid this collision or whether they can take a different route or something on that line. It's totally based on the input that are given to the driver. Good. So vehicle to vehicle, vehicle to infrastructure, infrastructure to vehicle communication can address up to 81% of the traffic accidents. So that is the motivation of working in this area. And I've been working on this area for the last few years. So I have gone through all the details of it. Next slide. So V2X, as already mentioned, X can be infrastructure, X can be network, X can be pedestrian, and X can be another vehicle. So when a vehicle communicates with another vehicle, it's known as V2V. When vehicle communicates with another pedestrian, it's known as V2P. When vehicle communicates with infrastructure, roadside units, it's known as V2I. And if vehicle communicates with network, it's known as V2N. So vehicle to everything is just a snapshot of what are the different applications of V2X. This is well established. I will not go into details of it. And there's a lot of work that has already been taken place on establishing the V2X sort of a communication setup. So connected vehicles application. So vehicle application can be broadly categorized into safety application and non-safety application. Safety application can be based on V2V or V2I. And non-safety can be based on mobility, infotainment, and environment. So the main focus of this talk is safety. I will not go into non-safety, that we already worked some things on non-safety as well. But priority is basically given to a safety application where we can save more and more lives. So there are different types of warning that a vehicle can give to other vehicle or roadside units so that the collisions can be avoided. Something like post-crash warning, blind intersection warning, do not pass warning, work zone warning, pedestrians and signalized crossroad walking warning, and gain speed warning. So V2V applications and V2 applications can be broadly categorized into two different areas. V2V is vehicle to vehicle, emergency vehicle warnings, blind spot warning, collision warning, lane change warning, post-crash warning. So these are different warnings that a vehicle can give to another vehicle so that accidents can be avoided. Similarly, vehicle to infrastructure applications can be blind merge warning, curve speed warning, and all these different type of warning that an infrastructure can provide to the vehicle or a vehicle can provide to the infrastructure so that this sharp turns and everything can be avoided in appropriate time. So safety applications, if I'm talking about actual what sort of latencies the delay or the range is required before the warning can be given, has been given in this slide. As you can see, for collision warning, the latency requirement is around 20 milliseconds, whereas the range requirement is between 50 meters to 300 meters. And these are very stringent requirements, and not all the wireless standards may be able to achieve this different stringent requirements so that vehicles can know a priori in advance a collision can be avoided. So the current existing technologies for vehicle-to-vehicle communication is first one is DSRC, dedicated short-range communication. This is also known as IEEE 2.11p. That was the standard that was launched in 2010 between the two vehicles so that they can communicate with each other. That is also known as DSRC or WAVE, wireless access for vehicular environment. Second is cellular with LTE-V, that's 4G-V and 5G-V2V. Also, cellular is also taken place one way through which one vehicle can communicate with another vehicle. There's Wi-Fi, where Wi-Fi can also be used between where the vehicle can communicate with another vehicle using 802.11 AC or AX. And obviously VLC, that is upcoming technology, that is visible light communication. I will give some more insights on visible light communication as we go forward. And then obviously there is a millimeter wave band that has again been explored for vehicular communication. But we don't know what will happen in 2030. There will be another technology that is more appropriate, or maybe a hybrid sort of technology where we combine maybe DSRC with VLC or cellular with VLC for vehicular-to-vehicular communication. So current V2X, as already mentioned, IEEE 2.11p, that was launched in 2010. I will not go into details of the standards that is publicly available. It's a fully distributed system with random access, and the upgradation of this IEEE 802.11p standard happened in 2022. That is known as IEEE 802.11bd. And for cellular V2X, LTE V2X, that is also known as 4G, was launched in 2017. Is based on infrastructure as well as direct device to device. And again, 5G V2X release 16 was published in 2020 and is based and release 17 in 2022. So all these are publicly available data that I'm presenting. But there are a lot of already issues with current vehicular standard. Whether take DSRC standard, the major problem with DSRC standard is channel congestion, because it's again based on Wi-Fi sort of a protocol. And just to give an example, if there are more users in this room, obviously throughput per user will decrease. If that's quite obvious in Wi-Fi, there are a lot of people are logging. If you go to the airport or any other place where a lot of people are logging into Wi-Fi, obviously throughput per user will decrease, because Wi-Fi typically works on CSMA based protocol. So it's more like a sequential sort of a transmission. So once user is transmitting, other user has to wait till a particular pack of time. Same problem is happening for vehicular communication by using DSRC. One vehicle is communicating, other vehicles needs to wait till a proper backup time. So apart from that, there are a lot of issues with collision. All the conventional issues with Wi-Fi also carries out with IEEE 802.11p, whether it's channel congestion, whether it's mutual interference, or whether it's some collision. Because again, it's based on CSMA or Aloha protocol. So DSRC is affected by mainly high traffic densities. That's why it's not a very good protocol if you want to extrapolate it for large number of vehicles. Then it comes to cellular V2X. The major problem with cellular V2X is the licensing part of it. And if you know, I have already mentioned, license is very expensive. And if you want to just apply for something like a vehicular to vehicular communication and selling out millions of dollars for just sort of this sort of communication may not be justified. So that is cellular is the main bottleneck of licensing. And apart from that, cellular is also very structured sort of a standard. If you compare with cellular and Wi-Fi, Wi-Fi is more like an ad hoc sort of a standard, whereas cellular is more like a structured sort of a standard, which is a very good backhaul and all these things. That may not be very rigid for vehicular communication as well. Good. So this is next generation of DSRC. As I already mentioned, 802.11bd was proposed as the upgradation for DSRC, that is 802.11p. They've added far more features, but bottleneck still remains when I talk about 802.11bd. Now coming to visible light communication. So visible light communication is something a lot of people are working towards. It's also known as optical wireless communication. Visible light communication is a part of optical light communication, where we're only using the visible light part of it. And in your school days, if you remember this VIBGYOR term, VIBGYOR, this is nothing but a spectrum of the visible light. So visible light typically has till now been used only for illumination. Suppose you want to see in this room, obviously you turn on the lights. Now we are going a step ahead, and we are proposing that the same visible light can be used for communication applications as well. The same LEDs in this auditorium can be used for communication applications. So suppose the Wi-Fi is very congested, I can use the same LED for data transmissions as well. Since all the vehicles, if you know, are embedded with headlight and tail light, so the same headlight and tail light can be used for vehicular communication as well, with small modification obviously a bit. But still, this same headlights and tail lights, what the vehicles are incorporated with, can be used for communication application as well. The main advantage of VLC is that it has a huge bandwidth in terahertz range. If you see the VLC range, 400 terahertz to 790 terahertz. That is far more than what your Wi-Fi has or cellular has. Wi-Fi has a maximum bandwidth of 100 megahertz if you do carrier aggregation. Even cellular has a maximum bandwidth of few megahertz or tens of megahertz. But VLC has a bandwidth in terahertz. Just imagine, with 1 terahertz, you can do terahertz bits per second. That's far more and 1,000 times more than what you can Wi-Fi or cellular can offer. That's why we try to explore this VLC as a part of vehicular communication as well. So VLC, visible light communication, a short range optical wireless communication technology, operates in the frequency range of 400 to 800 terahertz. Inherent advantages of LED over other lighting technologies. The good part about VLC is that lights are already there. Whether it's vehicle, whether it's your room, whether it's auditorium, whether railway station, airport, lights are already there. The same lights what you're using can be used for communication applications as well. So in terms of infrastructure, the deployment is trivial. Because the lights, you already installed lights in your home, offices, vehicles. That same light with small modifications can be used for communication application. And apart from that, the bandwidth is huge. You can transport or you can send huge amount of data using the lights. So visible light-based vehicular communication, as all the vehicles are embedded with LED lights. I think everybody who's driving a car will know that all the vehicles will have headlight and tail light embedded with LED lights, and same headlights and tail lights can be used for communication application. But there's always two sides of the coin. There's no free lunch. So when we are getting some advantages, always there will be some disadvantages as well. We know that lights cannot penetrate through the wall. So we cannot know what is going on beside the wall. RF can penetrate, Wi-Fi can penetrate, cellular can penetrate, but lights cannot. So that's a major bottleneck of light. Apart from light, always needs some sort of a directional communication. So sometimes if you're driving a car, you adjust your mirror. Am I right? You adjust your mirror so that you can see who is behind the car. That is what is meant to say. You need to have a line of sight if you want to see. So that is another bottleneck of the light. So these are few. And apart from that, you might have heard that during the fog, the visibility is reduced to 50 meters, 100 meters. What is happening? Because light cannot travel in fog, it will adversely impact the performance. So in one hand, you have vehicles which have very good headlights, tail lights, huge bandwidth. On another hand, lights cannot propagate through fog, through rain, short distance, and it needs a line of sight communication. So this is what we have evaluated in this work. So I will not go into details of all this are published work from our group from IEEE transactions on intelligent transportation system or vehicular communication. I will just give a snapshot of what sort of work we did as a part of it. First, we investigate the impact of visible light communication or vehicular visible light communication presence of sunlight. Sunlight is something that obviously will interfere with your vehicular light. That's why there's no motivation to turn on the lights in the day because there's already sunlight. But if I'm using light for communication, obviously sunlight will interfere with it. That's quite obvious. But there's a way to filter it out. So sunlight is more like a DC signal. And when you're sending communication signal through headlights, it's more like a fluctuating signal. So obviously you can filter out the DC. That is one advantage what we saw in this thing. And then so this was the system model, but so first we investigated impact of solar irradiance and the performance of vehicle-to-vehicle communication. There are two vehicles, car A and trying to communicate with car B. And these are results. Again, I mentioned this is published in ACM, Bobicom some time back, and we saw that we did it for two different cities, New Delhi and London. And obviously, New Delhi during the summertime, you know that the lights are very, very strong. So the performance, as you can see, presence of light degraded. A bit rate performance, what we are getting is far more worse when you compare with the month of December. For December, intensity is very low. And we did the same study for London. Obviously, London does not have very strong sunlight. The performance in London is slightly better than what you get in New Delhi. Then we investigated impact of fog. Fog is something that as a Delhiite, everybody knows during the winter months. And we investigated how does fog impact the performance of a vehicular visible light communication system. And we use an attenuation factor to investigate the impact of different types of fog, dense fog, light fog, even rain, and wet snow and dry snow. Snow was taken in context of London, but all these parameters were taken for London. Yeah, super. Go back. Yeah. So this was a car headlight lamp. So this is the way to see is that you are located in 0-0 position and you have a headlight that is sending light all across the road, and we have got this pattern at 100 meters how the light will behave with different optical intensity. This is the light. This is vehicular light without the impact of any adverse weather condition. Now, dense fog, light fog, and rain. If you see, the pattern is completely distorted. So your light is getting attenuated because of presence of different environmental factors, whether it's fog, light fog, and rain, or whether it's snow or dry snow or wet snow. Because of that, you see the pattern has completely distorted. What you were supposed to transmit, it's getting attenuated because of this adverse weather condition. Then what we did, we went a step ahead and started investigating the impact of interference sources. So it's not about that your car headlight will only transmit. There are other cars on the road that will also transmit. The moment other cars will transmit, they will interfere with your current communication that is happening between the two vehicles. This is what we investigated. There's a two vehicle B and A that are communicating with each other. And there's a car C that is trying to interfere with the communication that is happening between vehicle A and vehicle B. So this is an interfering vehicle, and in presence of this interference, how the performance of vehicular VLC degrades. And we saw that your communication range, because of this interference, as well as because of this adverse weather conditions, drastically reduces. So typically, if you're supposed to be able to communicate for 100 meters, now because of these adverse weather conditions and because of this interference, you're only able to communicate for 45 meters. That is one problem with this Then we extended a work to multiple interferers. What happens when there are multiple interferers on the road? And everybody starts interfering with the desired communication. And this is what we saw. We categorized for 3 different traffic: sparse traffic, medium traffic, and dense traffic. And we categorize for 3 different traffic: sparse traffic, medium traffic, and dense traffic. Sparse traffic is number of vehicles on road is less. Medium traffic is number of vehicles on the road is medium, and dense traffic is number of roads in the vehicle is number of vehicles on the road is very large. And this is what we got the results for, and we showed that vehicular VLC in the normal atmospheric condition performed very good in all the 3 cases. But when there is a adverse weather condition, then the performance starts to degrade. Light fog or dense fog, the performance of vehicular VLC starts degrading. And this is the pattern what we get for different weather conditions and in presence of interference from the neighboring vehicle. The pattern, if you see, is completely distorted when there is an interference as well as the adverse weather condition. Now what we said was that, so now we have the vehicular VLC, and the VRF in the sense IEEE standard that are already existing for vehicular communication. And if you see, both are complementary. Whereas RF has a lower bandwidth, VLC is a large bandwidth. This is also known as a spider diagram, by the way. And if VLC is a short range, RF is a long range. And apart from that, there are other RF is not impacted by the weather conditions, whereas VLC is impacted by the weather condition. So we want to get best of both the worlds. What we did in this case is that we combined the existing IEEE standard of short range communication with vehicular VLC to show the improvement in the performance. And this is a different scenario through which we investigated performance of hybrid VLC and RF. So 5 possible scenarios: V2V communication via front lights or back lights, UAV to vehicle, V2V communication using RIS, V2X communication using traffic lights, V2X communication using street lights. And as a first case study, we did on a road intersection scenario. Road intersection is typically intersection where maximum accidents typically occur. So since maximum accidents typically occur in road intersections, so what we did was that, what we assume, suppose there are 2 vehicles, one is the yellow vehicle that is trying to communicate with the light blue vehicle. But this yellow vehicle is not able to see the light blue vehicle. Am I right? So during the night, suppose there are 2 vehicles that are crossing the road in an intersection. If they're not able to see each other, then obviously there is a probability of accident, collision. So in this case, what we proposed was that there is going to be something like what we called as a relay or an intelligent reflective surfaces on the road intersection that will relay the information from the yellow vehicle to the light blue vehicle so that there is no collision between these 2 vehicles. And this system model, again, this is already published in IEEE Transition Intelligent Transportation Systems. I will not go into details of it. Analytically, a lot of things what we did. And we proposed something like this. So VVLC link, VRF link. So if VLC link performance is good, it will stay in a VVLC link. VRF performance is good, it will stay in a VRF link. So it's getting best of both the worlds. In one line, it's getting best of both the worlds. If the VLC link performance degrades, it will switch to VRF link. VRF link performance degrades, it will switch to VVLC link. And then we calculated in terms of outage. I will not go again details of analytical expressions and everything. We compared with standalone VRF, standalone VVLC, and hybrid VVLC VRF communication. And what we observed was that, that's interesting in this case. What we observed, when the range is smaller between the 2 vehicles is 120 meters. The standalone VVLC is good. I'm giving you 2 stars. And when the range is large, standalone VRF is good. But if I do the hybrid part of it, in all the cases, whether range is small or range is large, hybrid is always performing better than standalone VRF and standalone VVLC. It's just like, suppose you're in auditorium, and if your Wi-Fi signal goes weak, I will switch to cellular. If your cellular signal goes weak, I will switch to Wi-Fi. Same thing what I'm doing here. If your RF performance is bad, I will switch to VLC. If the VLC performance is bad, I will switch to RF. That's why I'm getting best of both the performance. That's why typically I'm getting 3 stars for hybrid VVLC and VRF. So now what we did was that there's an interesting concept that is floating around, that is intelligent reflective surfaces, or this is also known as a reconfigurable intelligent surfaces. So what is the motivation behind RIS and IRS? This is the very buzzword. If you really want to do research right now, this is the big buzzword that is happening around, whether it's electronics and communication, whether it's computer science. RIS something that is going to be a part of the standard as well, most likely 6th generation cellular standard. And RIS is something that is what is known as a meta surface. It's also known as optical mirror. So basically what is happening, suppose there is some person which is outside this hall and he's not able to see me, I'm not able to see him. I can install a mirror or a meta surface that will reflect the signal what I'm saying to that desired user. So basically it will modify your propagation channel. It will typically modify your propagation channel so that line of sight is always maintained between the destination and the user. There are a lot of ways to design a RIS. I will not go into details of it. The meta surface ways, the optical mirrors are there, directed diodes are there, pin diodes are there. But this is a typical, very intelligent surface that will reorient your signal towards a desired destination. That is what is RIS all about. As I already mentioned, it consists of reconfigurable intelligent surfaces. You can modify the propagation environment so that you always, the transmitter can send a signal to the receiver. And there are different ways through which you can modify the propagation environment. Either you can reflect, pass through with different bands. You can modify different bands and all these things using RIS. So what we did in this case was that we used RIS for VLC system. That is, ours was the first group that deployed RIS for the visible light communication system. So as I already mentioned, the problem with the light is that it cannot penetrate the wall and it always needs a line of sight. That suppose you want to see some other person, you cannot see what is going on behind this wall because light cannot penetrate. You got it? If I'm able to see, I can only see till a distance. Beyond that, I'm not able to see because my vision range is limited. Same thing is problem with the visible light communication as well. But I can extend this vision by using this what is known as a reconfigurable intelligent surfaces. So I can reflect the optical signal in such a way that I can also see which is behind the wall. You got it? That is what is the capability of intelligent reflective surfaces. So this elevates the problem of blockages, skip zone, and all these things. And now what we did is the same road intersection example. Now we are installing a RIS on the road intersection. And this is what it looks like pictorially. So there are two vehicles, source and destination vehicle. And the source is not able to see the destination vehicle, but because of this RIS, I can reflect the signal from the source vehicle to the destination vehicle. This is a very interesting application. Although it looks like only for vehicular, it can be applied for indoor, it can be applied for underwater, it can be applied for any scenario what you can imagine. This is also what published in IEEE Transactions on Vehicular Technology. And you can obviously refer to the more details how we come up with this idea and all this. And we compared with hybrid RF as a benchmark. What happens when hybrid VLC we are using compared with the RIS scenario. And these are different number of elements of RIS and how the performance improves. The basic idea was still the same. But then we investigated how if I increase the number of size of RIS, how the performance improves. And this again, in terms of stars, we gave the performance with RIS, without RIS, and how does the performance improves if I add more and more number of elements in the RIS. So in this case, what we did was that, another thing what we did was in this case was that installing of optical IRS on the road surface. So till now, what we saw that IRS are typically installed on the buildings or traffic posts. So what happens if I typically install the IRS on the road surface itself? If I on the speed breaker, for instance, you might have seen a lot of speed breakers when you go from here. Delhi is known for the speed breakers things and all these things, or broken roads sometimes. So if I install this RIS on the road surface, or you have reflectors on the road, if I replace the reflectors with this RIS, what sort of performance I can get? So this was the idea that we proposed in the next work. And this was received as the best paper award in IEEE and 2022. And in this case, the two vehicles who wants to communicate with each other can communicate via this optical RIS. Signal will getting reflected on the road, and from road it's going to be reflected to the nearby vehicle. So these two vehicles can again communicate with each other. Next. So again, this is a pictorial where we are having both the links VLC and RF. And because of both the links, how the performance is improving, and how can we modify the transmitter headlight or the tail light to improve the performance using vehicular VLC and all these things. So currently we are pursuing two different work again. In this case, is a fiber wireless architecture. So again, I will not go into details of fiber wireless. Fiber wireless is a backbone, is a fiber. Front haul is a wireless. You have an optical line terminal through the splitter that is coming to optical network units, and then again you are connecting to the vehicle. The first part, if you see, is basically the infrastructure. Second part is the access network, where the infrastructure is communicating to the access network via wireless this thing. And the results what we proposed was this hybrid allocation of different wavelengths to different vehicle depending upon their quality of service requirement. Next. So this is what I want to discuss again a little bit more. So this is a machine learning based wavelength allocation. And this is in this case what we, this is what we did in this case was something we predicted the vehicular traffic. The problem with vehicular traffic, like I don't know about Rohini, but if you talk about Kalkaji and Govindpur, it's very difficult. It's more like a chaotic traffic. It's very difficult to predict a priori how the vehicular traffic is going to behave. So in this case, what we did was, suppose there are 4 vehicles, just giving it in terms of layman, suppose there are 4 vehicles, each vehicle has different quality of service requirement. One vehicle needs high data traffic, one vehicle needs low latency traffic, one vehicle needs critical information traffic. So depending upon the requirement of the vehicle, we're going to allocate the resources. Just to give an example, suppose in your class, you have 4 students. You got it. So one student is very, very good. One student is moderate. One student is weak. Typically, what you will do, you will allocate more time to a weak student so that he becomes on par with the good student. Same thing what we decide in this case. So if you have different type of vehicular traffic, how are you going to allocate resources from the backhaul network to the different vehicles? And apart from that, what we did in this case was that can a priori predict the vehicular traffic as well. At this time of the day, what type of vehicles are going on the road, what type of traffic is being generated. So motivation, I've already mentioned different type of extended sensors, advanced driving, remote driving, platooning. For different type of categories, we can have different type of traffic and different type of resource allocation. And system model, I've already explained that you have backhaul network and you want to allocate resources to different vehicular traffic. So first we did prediction of vehicular traffic and we got a data from UCI, issued in US. Machine learning repository is publicly available for Interstate 94 highway between Minneapolis and St. Paul. And this data what we used was trained using 3 different algorithms. So these are different features of data: temperature, rain, snow, clouds, and all these things. So, and this is what we did. We used 3 different models to predict this data. So linear regression, random forest, and CatBoost. So we stick with random forest, which was much more simpler as compared to CatBoost, but much more had a very, very close mean square error as compared to linear regression. So we use random forest to predict this vehicular traffic. And we categorize the different vehicular traffic. And so if you see the last curve, that is our proposed machine learning algorithm, the end-to-end delay between the vehicular infrastructure was lowest as compared to random allocation of resources or equal allocation of resources. So now what we are doing is a current work. What we are doing in this vehicular area is a digital twin framework. I think you might have heard about digital twin concept. There was one paper also what I saw on digital twin. So basically what we are going to do, we are going to replicate the complete vehicular traffic on the cloud. And some instances, some decisions can be made real time, and some decisions can be made on cloud, and that cloud decisions can be inferred back to the actual vehicular traffic. So you are basically segregating the decision-making process. So instead of overloading the current vehicular controller with all the decision-making, we're shifting some of the decision-making to the cloud and replicating the complete vehicular traffic on the cloud. And based on the inferences, we are modifying the current vehicular application resources. And second thing, what we are doing is this, again, this is something idea that we are exploring, metaverse on vehicular communication, where we have audio reality, augmented reality, and extended reality for the vehicular traffic. So this is something what we are exploring. Yeah, go ahead. So conclude, this is what we did. I've just given a very brief snapshot of the work what we did for vehicular communication. And we proposed hybrid VRF sort of a setup where we get the best of both the worlds, RF as well as VLC. And we also evaluated the performance in different weather conditions for vehicular VLC scenarios. And we also, in future, we are trying to go ahead and do something on lines of digital twin as well as metaverse that can be applied to vehicular communication scenarios. With that, I will like to stop and thank you for patiently listening to me. And I'm open to take any questions. So just to give a heads up, this is the one area what I'm working on. Apart from that, we are also working on indoor VLC. We have a group that is also working on indoor visible light communication, underwater communication. We are also exploring underwater communication. Apart from that, we are also exploring what we call it as intelligent reflective surface, already mentioned, and some other areas of wireless and optical application. Thank you. Thanks.
So we have some questions for you, sir.
Sir, I have a question. First of all, thank you very much. Wonderful talk. My one simple question is that that how means as far as the India is concerned, means this is also one of my area in which I'm working. And how basically means in India, how the vehicular ad hoc network has been implemented. Means are we able to implement these technologies in the manner it is applied in Western world or something like that? Because we are publishing research papers, that is fine. But as you are from one of the premier institutes, you must be knowing this, that how this is actually going in the road networks and it is connected with
very valid question. So think there are two ways to look into this question. One is, if you really want to implement an actual Delhi roads, it will take lots and lots of time. Delhi road traffic is random and chaotic. I'm being very graceful right now. You know, this word, there are more words than chaotic and random, but that's very difficult. If you try to do it on a Govindpuri signal or any other signal, that is going to be very, very chaotic. To start with, at least what we did in IIIT Delhi within the campus, like MAIT campus, that is very regularized. There are a lot of signages and everything. So that type of areas, suppose, just to give an example, suppose you have a big campus, when one building is located far away from another building. In that case, you can deploy something what is known as autonomous driving. You don't need a driver to take it from one place to another place. So you can have some sort of map through the vehicle can follow and go to the desired destination to start with. And later on, if you see in US, there's a very big concept of platooning. So instead of drivers for all the trucks, there's a main truck that has a driver, and all the vehicles, remaining vehicles, just follow this truck. So you save in terms of manpower, you save in terms of a lot of other activities. You can continuously run the trucks for more number of hours. You save in terms of money as well. So it will take some time. To start with, let's start with basic campuses, basic companies which are very well-laid roads, with proper signages. That type of work, I think, can be done in these cases. To make it a proper Delhi sort of roads, I think it will take lots and lots of time. I don't know whether it may be possible or not, because reading a vehicular traffic in Delhi roads, as I mentioned, is very chaotic. It's not going to be so trivial. But obviously, what you can do is that you can at least avoid some sort of accidents. You got it. So just to give an example, most accidents typically occurs in fog. If you see Delhi during the month of December, January, or even late night hours. So, and as the data suggests, it's mainly because of manual errors, driver errors. Fault of driver is not because of he may be driving for longer hours. And if you typically drive in Yamuna Express, just giving an example, after 2 hours you start tripping because it's constant road is there, nothing else to do. It typically starts snoozing. Somehow vehicles have this information that some vehicle is approaching or something is happening, and appropriately that warning is given to the driver, or the vehicle itself can do something. That will itself will avoid around 40 to 50% of the accidents. I'm not talking about main Delhi road, but at least expressways. You got it. That's what something you can look into.
So if you can put diagram you said about something about suite of networks and how it can be connected to the vehicular. You said something that in underwater communication.
Correct.
So that another one of the variants is sea ad hoc networks.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
How it is interconnected when it's moving towards.
Yeah, so optical. So you see, optical signals can penetrate through the water as well. The problem, if you see, I don't know how many of you are working on underwater. There are two ways to communicate underwater. One is acoustic, normal sound waves. The problem with sound waves is the low bandwidth. So if you want to send a very high data rate, that's not possible in acoustic. Although the range is good, but amount of data rate that you can send to acoustic is very limited. Optical signal on the other hand has a huge bandwidth. Optical signal, although it has a problem in terms of diffraction and all this in underwater, but still you can travel for longer distances with huge bandwidth. The problem with optical signal is it needs a line of sight. That may not be always possible. Suppose a diver wants to communicate with a submarine. Just giving a very raw example. And the submarine is located somewhere and diver is located somewhere, and there's no line of sight signal available. In this case, we can deploy something what I mentioned, optical intelligent reflective surfaces that will know the location of the diver. But suppose diver wants to communicate, it will reflect the signal that is coming from diver to the desired submarine or some sort of ground station. That is one of the things that people can explore for underwater communication using this optical signal as well as intelligent reflective surfaces. Yeah. That's a very interesting question. That's why I mentioned there are a lot of very stringent requirements. If you see range, talking about, समझो आपको एक warning चाहिए. You're driving at 60 kilometers per hour. That's normal speed. You need a warning at least 100 meters before it collide. That is what is known as the communication range. If you remember, defined distance communication range. And during the fog, ये communication range reduce हो जाता है. अचानक से आपको vehicle दिखता है ना, आप drive कर रहे हो दिल्ली रोड, अचानक से fog, आप दिल्ली headlight वगैरह on करके चला रहे हो, but still that communication range typically reduces in presence of fog. So that is a factor of external environments. आपको समझो आप fog के समय आपको ये warning चाहिए, तो maybe in that case you need a warning much more faster, much more shorter distances vis-a-vis when the environment is very clear. 100 meters में चल जाएगा, but during the fog it reduces to 40 meters. यानी आपको जैसे आपको डिस्टेंस 40 मीटर के आसपास आपको वार्निंग देनी स्टार्ट हो जाएगी. दैट इज अ वेरी वेरी क्रिटिकल पैरामीटर. एंड आल्सो द डिले, कितने डिले के बाद आपको वार्निंग आ रही है, दैट इज आल्सो वेरी वेरी क्रिटिकल पैरामीटर. नॉट ऑल द स्टैंडर्ड्स आर एबल टू मीट दैट क्रिटिकल पैरामीटर. दैट्स व्हाई देयर शुड बी समथिंग लाइक अ हाइब्रिड. आप कन्वेंशनल भी यूज करो और आपके हेडलाइट्स को भी यूज करो, सो दैट प्रॉपर वार्निंग कैन बी गिवन ऑन टाइम. That's what we are proposing in this case.
And security issues.
Security, although I haven't spoken about security issues, but security is very very critical in this case. So some eavesdropper may hack onto your system and maybe give you some false warning. That is always a possibility. So there's eavesdropper that is listening to what is going on and they give you a false warning. And even if you don't intend to collide, you may collide. But I haven't spoken about security issues. Security is a very very critical aspect of vehicular ad hoc networks as well.
शेयर करेगा आपकी लोकेशन.
नहीं, अब वो ट्रेड ऑफ तो होगा. अब मैं जस्ट गिविंग एन एग्जांपल. आप अपने आप जब व्हाट्सएप पे लोकेशन तो शेयर करते ही ना, जब मैं कोई किसी से शेयर करते हो, फ्रेंड वगैरह शेयर करते हो, कुछ भी करते हो, दैट लोकेशन इज ऑलरेडी बीन शेयर्ड. आप जीपीएस ऑन करते हो, आपके लोकेशन सबको पता चल जाती है. एम राइट? आप कहीं आप यहीं से कहां से यहाँ से अगर पंजाबी बाग भी जाना हो या तो कनॉट प्लेस भी जाना पड़ा, आप टिपिकली जीपीएस पहले, जीपीएस इज नॉट ओन्ड बाय इंडिया. एम राइट? जीपीएस इज ओन्ड बाय एक्सटर्नल सर्वर. If anybody wants, you can track or see your location. तो आप publicly नहीं देंगे भी, unknowingly तो location share करते ही है. But if sharing a location give you some more advantage in terms of security and safety, there's a trade-off. Am I right? That trade-off is always. आप कितनी बार सुनेंगे WhatsApp में ये portal है, फिर भी आप WhatsApp use करते ही हो. Am I right? Anybody is not using WhatsApp even after knowing that a lot of issues are there with WhatsApp, still you're using it. So there's some inherent advantage that outweighs the disadvantages. That trade-off we always need to maintain. Pardon? Yeah, continuous. Obviously, you can have intervals of sharing, or you can have a continuous location sharing. That will depend upon what sort of applications you're looking at.
Sir, is 5G harmful for our nature? Because 5G has big bandwidth.
नहीं, ये बहुत बड़ा मिसकंसेप्शन है. जब स्टार्टिंग में आया था 5G के ऊपर तो बहुत सारे न्यूज आर्टिकल्स भी थे कि, frankly speaking, as a researcher, I've been working in this area for last 15 years. I haven't come across any credible article. न्यूज तो छोड़, न्यूज में तो 2009 में भी चिप बताया था इन लोगों ने. Let's forget about that thing. तो that's what there is no credible paper or evidence that shows that this radiation is harmful. Having said that, आप ऐसा मत करो कि मोबाइल कान में लगा के कंटिन्यूस 2 घंटे, वो कंटिन्यूस मोबाइल लगा के 2 घंटे बात करें तो ऑब्वियसली वो हार्मफुल रेडिएशंस की वजह से नहीं होंगी, वो हार्मफुल होंगी पावर एम्पलीफायर की वजह से. पावर एम्पलीफायर, इफ यू सी व्हाट हैपेंस इफ यू टेक अ मोबाइल कंटिन्यूसली फॉर 2 गर्म हो जाता है, वो हीट सिंक का प्रॉब्लम है, उसकी वजह से प्रॉब्लम हो सकती है. बट as far as radiations are concerned, there is no credible study that says that radiations at that lower power is harmful, because this goes through a lot of standardization process. Like 3GPP जो standard बनाती है 5G की, it ensures that whatever harmful radiations are 10 times below the recommended values.
ऐसे काम कर रहे हैं जहाँ पे हम लोग प्लेन में काम कर रहे हैं, मतलब अभी आप लोग यूज कर रहे हैं फॉर रोड, वहाँ पर आप एक्स और वाई एक्सेस का यूज कर रहे होंगे. बट अगर इनकेस आप प्लेन के लिए यूज करेंगे तो आपके पास
एक्स वाई जेड तीनों यूएवी में वही यूज करते हैं, यूएवी में वही यूज करते हैं.
हम लोग ड्रोन के लिए इंप्लीमेंट कर रहे थे, बट बाय यूजिंग 4G टेक्नोलॉजी. तो हम लोग पहले से ही Arduino में ये डेटा यूज कर लेते हैं, हम लोग पहले से ही उसको प्रोवाइड करते हैं. बट अगर 5G हमें यूज करने को मिल जाएगा तो हम आसानी से,
तो आपको 5G enabled चिपसेट चाहिए ना, हम बस 4G की जगह 5G का चिपसेट लगा दो.
उस केस में सर 4G के केस में सर हम लोग Arduino का यूज कर रहे थे, बट Arduino के पास
Arduino को लेना देना नहीं है. अगर आपको चिपसेट मिल रहा है, जैसे वाईफाई का चिपसेट होता है ना, आपको सिम कार्ड चाहिए ना. अल्टीमेटली व्हाट यू नीड इज सिम कार्ड. इफ योर सिम कार्ड इज 5G enabled, व्हाट्स द प्रॉब्लम? दैट्स द थिंग.
Sir, you said that there is a range at 100 meters before there will be issued a warning that the 2 vehicles are approaching closer. But in actual life, we see that the distance between cars is hardly 2 meters, 3 meters, and maximum accidents and even road edges are in that.
Correct.
So how will you mitigate those false warnings which will be generated?
Absolutely. So as I mentioned, I've just scratched the surface. So it depends upon driver behavior as well. And these are more raw data. Ultimately, human intervention is always going to be needed. That is there. Apart from that, if it's a bumper to bumper traffic, the probability of accident is anyway going to be very low. Am I right? So if the two vehicles are spaced by 1 meter, what's the probability of having an accident? Accident typically occurs when there is this vehicle that is going at very high speed, around 100 miles per hour, and covering very large amount of distance. For that specific vehicle, 100-meter distance, there is another vehicle. He should be warned proper appropriate time that there is a vehicle in front of you that you may collide. If it's a bumper to bumper traffic, probability of accidents are very, very low. That's why most accident typically happens in the night because it's empty and driver is driving very, very fast. You got it. So that typically entails what sort of behavior or the human behavior is there, what sort of traffic is there, what the distance between the two vehicles and all these things.
And also adding to that there will be some latency.
Yeah, that's what latency is very, very important.
Yeah.
That's why if you see the slides what I presented, there were two parameters. One is communication rate, one is latency. If latency's threshold is suppose 3 milliseconds. That means you should receive the warning before 3 milliseconds. If it goes beyond 3 milliseconds, it's of no use. Just like अगर आपको सही time में news नहीं मिली, तो news का कोई मतलब ही नहीं है ना. It's more like obsolete news.
So which standard actually implements that? The current standard or the 60?
So that's interesting. So none of the standards typically follows very stringent requirement because you can put the standard whatever you want, but there are a lot of inherent problems in the system that may not adhere to that specific standards. And it also depends upon the vehicular traffic that are beyond the standards control. Just give you an example. 5G promises 1 gigabits per second. आपको हमेशा 1 gigabits per second मिलता है क्या? आप अगर बेसमेंट में जाओगे तो आपको 10 kilobits भी नहीं मिलेगा. Am I right? अगर आप कोई बाहर जाओगे तो बड़े अच्छा मिल जाए. So standards always lays up some sort of benchmark, average, something like that. You got it. They always will peak data rate. Peak data rate is very high problem. These standards specify 3 milliseconds is a good number, but it may not be a good number in some scenarios. May be a good number in some scenarios. You got what I mean to say. So that is we always take a pinch of salt. So main motivation behind our work is that not just rely on one specific standard. Why can't we integrate both the standards? Like VRF already there, maybe integrate with PVLC, so that if one system fails, at least you have another system that you can bond on. You got what I mean to say? जैसे यहाँ पर मैं cellular नहीं मिल रहा. At least you have Wi-Fi. Even if you want to make a call or maybe access your messages, you can always switch to Wi-Fi. And that you don't decide. Let the card decide whether he wants to use VRF or whether he wants to use PVLC. That was the main point.
Are they okay with this kind
Yeah.
of
Yeah, so
to make them more money.
Yes. So
Government of India. So are they going to enforce these kind of things?
So there was some talk that then if you see previously there was no mandate of GPS being installed on the cars, but Government of India made it mandated at least for some cars GPS to be enabled. You never know, 5 years down the line, government may mandate you need to install this sensors because you want to avoid accidents. Because if you see number of accidents that is happening in India, at least in fog days, is quite large. I've already shown the data. India ranks #1 in the number of fatalities. That is Government of India data. It's my data that I have taken from Ministry of Highways. So 5 years down the line, there may be a mandate you should install these sensors so that the fatality rate can be reduced. And having said that, even if you see, I'm not talking about the second tier manufacturer, but if we talk about BMWs and at least to start with that, companies have ensured that some sensors are installed. Even Tesla, the self-driving cars, that are completely based on LiDARs and radars. There's nothing but sensors on it that gives you warning that there's another vehicle. So if you're talking about self-driving cars, in terms of Tesla or some sort of Google cars, or sometimes in future maybe BMW, it will be incorporated with this sort of sensors. Mass deployment that may need government mandate. Or government makes a mandate that you need to install these sensors in your car so that this can be avoided. Like seat back, what is called seat belts and airbags. Previously, seat belts were not mandatory in the people sitting in the back, but government made it mandated so you know to avoid accident. If 5 years down the line, government may mandate all the cars should be fitted with these sensors so that your collision rate is reduced. So you never know. Research is something that we always can predict in the future. That's what we can do. Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you, sir, for giving us an insight on visible light-based vehicular communication. It was a very informative, interesting, and enlightening session. Thank you so much. Now I invite Dr. Ashish Khanna to present a memento as a token of appreciation to Professor Vivek Ashok Bohra and also extend a vote of thanks.
Hello. So thank you, Professor Bohra, for coming and enlightening us about this one of the wonderful topic. I'm really enlightened after listening this talk that basically we all are doing some kind of research. But as far as the research is concerned, when we are doing research with a reason, when the research is for human welfare, and one of the critical means flaw and means for wrong reasons, the India is #1, that is in the fatalities. So the thing is that the Professor Vivek is working with his team in a positive direction to reduce that. So we were some of the takeaways of the talk are that we basically were discussing about the latency. That when the vehicle is going, the latency is there, means there are certain critical parameters which we have to take away. So I was just reviewing one DST-based project, and that project was basically on that vehicular-to-vehicular communication and how to reduce the latency. So after listening to this particular talk, my insight is I have been enlightened with this knowledge, and one of the critical factor which can be used to reduce the latency is, means as we all know that if the information is coming, so where the information is getting processed, the information could be processed on the cloud. So clouds are very far away. So one of the other technology which can be integrated with the vehicular communication is the edge computing. So edge computing is something where the our processing can be done and edges, means on the edges the processors are, and this thing. So another very good topic was that we can communicate with the help of light. So these are certain takeaways. Thank you very much, sir, for coming. And I would also like to request to Professor Vivek and our respected HODs are there, that we can have some kind of MOUs between IIIT and the MAIT, Maharaja Agrawal Institute of Technology. We have very wonderful faculty over here. We are immersing as far as the research is concerned. A lot of research papers are coming. So your vision will give us some kind of alignment that we can also work in that direction. Thank you very much.
Thank you all for your active participation in this event. Now the session will resume at 1:45 in Lab 114, Block 1. Thank you so much.